His parents accompany him after dinner, both telling him that he must obediently go to sleep if he wants Santa Claus to send him the gift he wants. Tyler, excited and shy, tells them that they are missing something very important, and that is that you should not be ungrateful to Santa. Everyone must leave a bowl of cookies and a glass of milk on the table near the tree to say thank you. Then Tyler, smiling, goes off to his room. He is now in bed and wishes his parents a good night, who in return each give him a kiss before leaving the room and closing the door. Everything now is in complete darkness in Tyler's room. While all the lights in the houses are off and their owners are all in bed, it begins to snow heavily, and the moon shines so bright. Their boots sweep through the snow, and their laughter breaks up the gloom and loneliness. You notice the glaring fireplace that calls you, and without thinking twice you are looking for happiness. Agitated but keeping calm, he slides through the dark, tight space, trying to make as little noise as possible. He mustn't wake a soul. It must be a surprise. Once inside, he chuckles quietly as he puts gifts around the tree, one on top of the other and another next to that, trying to make it look as harmonious as possible. Tyler slowly opens his eyes and all he can see is nothing, but he can hear something from below. He makes his way down the stairs one by one as they creak softly. There he finds him, voraciously eating the cookies and milk that had been left out on the table. They are suddenly surprised by the arrival of each other. Santa calls to Tyler. "Come, my boy, come here. I've been waiting for you." Tyler smiles and says that he knew he would not be disappointed. Santa urges him to lower his voice and says, "Come quickly, come." So the boy follows Santa. The closer Tyler gets, though, the more he notices how different Santa is from what he'd imagined. In addition to better noticing his features, who, with a big smile, says, "Merry Christmas." Tyler then wakes up again to see nothing, but can again hear something from below. Now more excited, he runs down the stairs, trying not to make too much noise, when suddenly he feels a roar behind his head, which makes him fall abruptly. Lying there, he begins to feel a throbbing pain in his head, then the feeling of a warm liquid running down his face. He's about to pass out, but before he does, he sees himself getting up off the floor and starting to float around the room until he reaches the chair, where he eventually sits down. In front of him now he sees the tree, with many gifts beneath it. His smile becomes wide and he tries to refrain from leaving his seat to leap at the decorated boxes, but he realizes quickly that he cannot move. The feeling of pain sharpens when seeing his hands are strapped to the arms of the chair, as well as his feet to the legs of it. A wire of spikes pierce his skin, allowing the blood to flow. He can now hear a familiar voice, the voice of that Santa. And when he tries to look back to where the sound is coming from, the chair begins to spin rapidly until he feels a sudden blow, which halts the rotation, and he and the chair fall to the ground. He hits his head, and the tears start to fall. Then he hears it once more. "Now, my child, don't cry. I am here with you." Tyler just about manages to move his head to see the cold and empty gaze of his father. His eyes wide open, he hears his voice again, and he says, "Oh, hello, my son. How was the party? Your mother is also here." The chair swivels, following the movement of his father, and comes to face the crushed face of his mother. He continues, "Hey, Tyler, we were waiting for you, but you never came to see the fun. How could you?" Tyler starts to cry uncontrollably. His father tells him to calm down, as after all they are all together now. The boy looks up and can now see the frayed parts of his relatives who are scattered throughout the room. He can see blood-stained walls, ceiling, and everything else in between. He can feel his world darken as then another blow comes from behind his head. Everything is dark now, but he is finding it hard to breathe. He tries to understand where he is now, feeling the ground beneath him. It is damp and cold. Perhaps it is snow, he thinks, and falls back off to sleep. This goes on and on between waking and sleeping for a long time, or at least that is what he perceives. "Wake up, my boy, wake up!" One last scream and he opens his eyes, trying to figure out where the hell he is, all the while his head hurts, a lot. He tries to sit up, but again he feels his wrists and ankles tied with barbed wire. Around him, although a little dark, he notices strange shadows, which he does not understand, but they scare him. The sheets that were once soft and comforting have now become wet and sticky. "Let me out of here. I can't move. Help me." "Calm down, boy," someone interrupts, and a light blinds him. After the light has been adjusted, he can see his surroundings. It was a dirty, smelly type of basement with lots of rare appliances. Ovens, cages, refrigerators, plus something that terrifies him even more. Axes, knives, and all kinds of sharp instruments. Some so strange that he had never seen. Tyler fears for his limbs after seeing all these atrocious instruments. The doubtful boy bats and moves, and desperately asks Santa what he is going to do to him. Santa nonchalantly hums a song. The boy is now beyond desperation, when he suddenly feels a sharp blow to his leg, just below the knee. He can't catch his breath when now realizes the horror in front of him. The severed limb is being playfully displayed in front of the boy, like it was a piece of fresh meat that was dripping with blood. Screaming in pain and despair, Santa just laughs out loud and says, "Wait, boy, the best hasn't even started yet." Twisting his head, he tries to see over his shoulder at what this monster was doing, fearing for any other part of his body. Santa then throws Tyler's leg into a cauldron. It begins to burn, producing what looked like a demonic cloud of steam, and accompanied by what sounded like screams. Horrified, the boy thought that they must be coming from the cauldron. They must be the souls that have been suffering in there, that are suffering in there, and will suffer in there. Tyler cries and cries, believing that this is all a horrid, vivid nightmare, but then he hears that voice again. "Hey boy, shut up. Shut your damn mouth and listen. Do you want to know what I do? Those pieces of meat and bones there will soon become my friends, the creatures of the night. They will roam the streets. They will go into the homes of families with Christmas spirit tomorrow, and they will eat them. I went to get some human meat today. Do you know who I got it from? Your parents. And you." He laughs. Tyler closes his eyes and bites his lips nervously, ripping them off and letting the blood flow out with intense pain and panic. Strange sounds and grunts surround him. He opens his eyes to a room full of ugly, small, and morbid creatures that look back at him, laughing while making filthy nasal sounds. Then heavy and melodic music begins to emerge from a radio, followed by the malevolent Santa singing along with the lyrics. The lyrics read, "This is the night of panic which defies pain, ignites suffering and madness to the minds that wander in seas of darkness, while they are devoured until there is no more. Nothing, nothing but hate and pain." Tyler screams as he is being eaten by those monstrosities. His throat begins to swell from his shrieks, then he wakes up. Agitated and sweating, his heart is leaping from his chest. He can hear the screams of people, of human souls that he had previously heard in the cauldron. He is in his dark room, confused, and he sits on the quilt of his bed. From the depths he again hears the voice of that bad man, and already desperate, he shouts, "What do you want? What did you do to my parents? What is happening?" "Hello, Tyler. My name is Hunter, the real Santa Claus. I have come to plunge the world into seas of pain, just as he did to me. Look out the window, Tyler. Full of fear and absolute terror, the boy gets out of bed, goes to the window, opens the curtains, opens the windows, and the sound of screams becomes sharper. He hears as the song begins again behind him. Hunter followed the lyrics while laughing. This is the night of panic that defies pain, lights up, suffering and madness, of minds that wander in seas of darkness, while they are devoured until there is nothing left. Nothing but hate and pain. From the windows, as far as his eyes could reach, he could see people being devoured by the morbid and filthy creatures, those small but unstoppable creatures. Ho, 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 is heard for the last time, rumbling in his head. The origin of Puppet Hunter. Hunter was a teenager in his senior year of high school before graduating. He was the oldest in his class at the age of 18, and was also the tallest, at 1 meter 89. He used his height for good purposes though, and in addition to being one of the smartest, he was also one of the boys who protected other students, many of them minors, from being bullied by the rougher kids. Hunter was tough, but not grumpy. He was actually very sociable and friendly. That's why he was considered one of the heroes amongst his peers. Not only of his class, but also of his school. Unfortunately though, he also attracted bad attention. Many bullies had him in their sights, and many of these undesirables had resentment and rage towards him. This young man had something else that many envied. His appearance made him desirable to many girls. He had reddish hair, grey eyes, and an altogether cold but comforting look. He had a 10-year-old sister whom he cared for very much, sympathetic and supportive parents, and a dog named after him, who was the best dog he ever had and ever will have. But this perfect life was going to change forever. The Christmas holidays were approaching, and Hunter and his sister had concluded their school year with honours, so they were getting ready for up-and-coming parties, celebrations and congratulations. When December the 24th finally arrived, it was snowing heavily, and Hunter's whole family were preparing for the night. Hunter had promised his sister a gift that she would never forget, so he left on his bike, bound for every store he could see, until he had found the perfect gift. As his family stayed home getting everything ready for this wonderful holiday, Hunter was riding his bike through fenced spaces between houses of the neighbourhood, trying to avoid the snow as much as possible. Suddenly, though, he came across 3 of the bullies from his school. At first, Hunter decided to just keep going and to avoid them, but then he felt one of them kick his bike, knocking him to the ground with a thud. The 3 of them began to laugh incessantly, and with the rage built up inside him, Hunter got up and, without warning or saying a word, quickly picked up a rock from the ground and began to smash one of them in the face, then another in the back of the head, and when the 3rd tried to intervene, Hunter slammed him in the mouth, took him by the hair and began to hit him against one of the fences of the houses, breaking it in the process. With the 3 boys lying on the ground, bleeding and moaning out in pain, Hunter grabbed his bicycle and quickly left the area. Once he had gone, one of them struggled to take out their phone and called another boy who was also a bully. He then went on to alert the whole school bully gang about what had happened. When all the undesirables had found out about what Hunter had done to their comrades, they planned to take revenge in the best possible way. 3 of them headed to Hunter's house to carry out their mission. Hunter eventually arrived home after visiting several stores. One that caught his eye had a really impressive puppet doll that he thought looked just like him, with reddish hair and bright grey eyes, so without hesitation he bought it and said, "This is perfect. My sister will love it and remember me forever, even when I'm not with her." And he wrapped it up in a beautiful box. He left the store and went straight home. But upon the arrival, the 3 vengeful boys were there, at his house, preparing their instruments of revenge, which were several bottles of liquor with burning paper placed in the top. Once they saw that Hunter was there, they started throwing the bottle through the windows of his family home. Screams began to be heard from the inside, along with an incandescent glow from the flames. Terrified, he jumped off of his bike and cautiously walked into the glow and was stunned and paralyzed. His home is burning with flames. They're consuming everything so quickly. He started to cry and scream whilst the paramedics and firefighters were trying to stop him from entering his burning home. But Hunter punches him in the face and proceeds to run into his residence to save his family. Once inside, he began to scream for them, looking everywhere that he could, regardless of the flames permeating his clothes. Finally, he came across a massive bundle on the ground. Getting closer, he could recognize the burned faces of his father, his mother, his sister, and his dog. Sobbing and without saying a word, he fell to his knees, hitting his head on the floor in the process, releasing the decorated box that he had just bought only minutes earlier. His gaze turns cold, dark, and hateful, when at that moment he begins to hear a sound in the distance, a hidden, muffled sound which he realizes is coming from a radio, which has not yet burned, as it is hidden in the rubble. It's a song, one that he remembers from many years ago. It's heavy but melodic, and he manages to sing along to the lyrics while stroking his sister's hair. This is the night of panic which defies pain, ignites suffering and madness, of minds that wander in seas of darkness, while they are devoured until there is no more. Nothing but hate and pain. After this, he can hear a voice with him. It said, "Hello, my boy. Why so sad?" Hunter acknowledges this, and the voice continues. "Don't you want to stop feeling pain? Do you want to make the people who did this pay?" The boy responds by screaming with rage. "No, I don't want those who did this to pay. I want everyone to pay. Everyone." "Do you want everyone to die? What's more, don't you want to kill them all yourself?" asks the voice. Hunter responds by affirming. "Well, my boy, I am Lucifer himself, and I have come to propose you a deal," the voice replies. "What do you want?" Hunter asks. "You simply grant me the right to treat you as my puppet, and I grant you the power to kill all the people you want, and to be, from this moment, the new and true Santa Claus." Hunter takes one last look at the puppet he so closely resembles that he'd bought for his sister. His skin is now melting and toasting in the heat, and he says, "Okay, I want you to transform me into that puppet." Done. Now you can create at will beings that will accompany you on your wave of death, leaving Christmas gifts of death to the human souls who deserve it. The flames began to dissipate with the arrival of great shots of water, and Hunter left the scene, saying goodbye to his loved ones. Preparing for the night with his new appearance, he makes his way to the homes of the ones responsible for his family's demise. Hey fearsome friends, thanks for listening. Please make sure you subscribe and click that notification button so you can be aware of all my videos when they upload. If you have a story that you'd like to hear me record, then please send it to my subreddit, rmissfearsome83, or alternatively email me at missfearsome83@hotmail.com. If you'd also like to support me further, please go to my Patreon and join for as little as $1 a month, where you'll get early access to all my recordings, and they will also be available as MP3 downloads. I also have some awesome merch on the Spreadshirt website. All links are in the description below. Stay safe, stay happy, and remember, keep being creepy.